Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 9th to Thursday the 12th of May 2022. I am your co-host, my name is Alex, and as always, every week I cannot do this alone. I would be very lonely and very sad. So here he is, it's Rob everyone. Hello Rob!
Hello Alexander, I am very well, thank you. How are you? Hello everybody, hope you are all fabulous this week. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. As always, Rob, before we start recording, I said, Rob, just make sure you talk for about 10 to 15 seconds.
No, you said 20.
Software.
What's the monologue?
So I was 20 seconds.
You wanted me to just go into Alan Bennett mode and just start talking to the camera for half an hour?
Well, it wasn't even 10 seconds. It was about 5 seconds. How are you, Alex? And throw straight back. We're on new software here, and so I'm just trying to learn it, and I'm just trying to get used to it. And Rob just he's such a rule breaker. Rob,
never work with children, animals, or Rob, it turns out.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone who's planning to work with Rob, do not even contemplate the idea, because he is both child and animal. Anyway, Rob, have you had a lovely week this week?
Yes, thank you. It was absolutely lovely. I'm now off for a week. I'm going to London at the weekend. I'm off to see Wicked. So, which I haven't seen before. I am.
You kept that quiet.
So, I know. I thought I'd leave it. I thought I'd leave it for the podcast, so your live reaction. So yes, off for a week. Going on Sunday morning, which means I'm going to be up at the crack of dawn on Sunday morning, which I don't like doing. But
how does Dawn feel about that?
Well, you. But yes, other than that, I'm very well. Looking forward to not being at work for a week, and as always, Alex, looking forward to discussing another week in our favourite fictional borough in London.
Yes, as am I. I mean, there's been a few going on the square again this week.
It was a time.
I was going to say one strikes quite the chord on social media this week, and obviously we're going to leave that discussion to the very, very end. And as always, if there's some time, we'll also do I Don't Want to Gossip, where we'll be discussing your comments that you sent to us on our social media, and also there's a little bit of news too. So hopefully we'll be able to squeeze that in. However, we are starting then with the yes, there is some news. We are starting though first of all with Janine, and she is. Well, Janine, we're going to start with, and she is still manipulating Mick. And she's trying to get her own way. Linda is still falling off the wagon hard every week, and she is now being told by Zack that she needs to curb it a little bit. He's not telling her to stop. No. God forbid. God forbid you stop drinking.
Linda. Don't stop, Linda. Just curb it. Just make sure you do it between the hours of 8 and 9 when all the kids are in bed. I mean, do you know what? This whole thing with Linda, and this is a terrible, terrible, terrible thing to say. There is a side of me that hope that Linda's never sobers up. I love Linda when she's drunk. Linda Carter turns into Nikki Graham when she's pissed, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, bless her.
She comes out with some cracking one-liners when she's drunk. What did she say? Oh, yeah. It'll just be me, Annie, and this glass of wine on the street. I loved it. I love her when she's in this mode. She's hilarious.
But she was found in Walford East, wasn't she? And she was slurring her words, not looking very, very well at all. Off her face. I was surprised Walford East let her have her own drink on the premises. Well, Pete didn't care because he was beaten up. He was nursing a beating this week. Yes. More on that later. Mm-hmm. So who was running? I suppose it was Bobby. So Bobby's a bit nervous, isn't he?
Bobby's not going to deal with Linda drunk, is he? No, he can barely deal with Janine and Clingfilm, let alone Linda drunk. It's not going to happen, is it?
he comes out with a mop and bucket and starts cleaning up.
Just keep with the vomits. Yeah, no, it's fine. You carry on.
Mick felt a bit sorry for Linda and kind of took her in, didn't he, and kind of looked after her. Janine seemed to be quite caring as well, but do you think this is all a bit of an act by Janine?
Of course it's an act by Janine.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always an act by Janine. No, the thing is with Janine at the moment, Janine seems to be sort of missing what I think Janine is actually doing at the moment is missing the opportunity that's actually being presented to her. Because Janine is so selfish, she's completely ignoring the fact that Mick is going to be sort of irritated by the fact that he keeps having to help Linda. The fact that Linda had to be taken back to the Vic and put in Nancy's room. It's my room. That is my room. Love that as well. Love Linda drunk. I'm not encouraging alcoholism, by the way, but Linda Carter makes it glamorous. But the thing is, I think Janine seems to be thinking that this is somehow making Mick more attracted to Linda again. As though he's remembering fond times when he had to hold her hair back as she was necking vodka and vomiting down the loo, and barely able to walk. So you would think that she would actually take advantage of that, but she's not doing that. What she's actually doing is being annoyed that Linda is still in their life. So I think from here on in, because she had a face of thunder at the end of the week, didn't she? She looked as though Janine type things were going on in her head as far as Linda was concerned.
Yes, more plotting from Janine.
Yes, so I think next week she's going to probably try and step up some form of game plan a little bit, isn't she? Again, I forgot about Scarlet. Scarlet's off the agenda again. Couldn't care less about Scarlet again. She's got her. That's it. We won't see Scarlet again for months. I don't know.
I was going to mention Scarlet, actually, because at the beginning of the week, she did plan a butterfly trail trip with Scarlet. She pulled her out of school. And as a
London is known for its huge collection of butterflies in the streets.
and horse stables, where Patricia is resident at the moment. You know, all these things, this nature reserve in London that it seems to be only Janine knows of.
Yes.
But she's been forgiven by Scarlet for being left out on the street. Sonia even commended her for her motherliness, her motherly care for Scarlet this week. So she's winning friends back, isn't she? And she's kind of convincing people. So do you think she sees that, like, maybe like the softly kind of catchy monkey type approach is the way to go, and that's why she's kind of taking a step back from what? You know, instead of going straight in and saying, "Oh, Mick, you should just dump Linda, just forget about her." That's why she's kind of taking a step back rather than jumping in.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think she knows that isn't going to work, because she has to bear in mind, if anything, having Scarlet around is sort of reminding her that parenthood is quite a bonding contract. So the fact that Linda is the mother of Mick's children, they have that bond. Janine can't deny that bond. Janine isn't naive enough to realise that bond is just going to disappear just because she's around. All right. So I think what Janine's plan is now is just that she's just going to try and just physically remove Linda out of the way. I think she's going to try and get a sack from the Vic, because that's not working as far as Janine's concerned. No. Linda is basically in the way, and when people are in the way of Janine Butcher, then they're in trouble. So I think the next couple of weeks are going to this is the thing. On the subject of people dying, okay. This seems like a good enough time to throw this mad theory that landed in my head, this nerve-wracking theory that landed in my head over the week. You know, Mick's leaving. Do you think? Well, yes. Do you think that there's any possibility that Janine might murder Mick? I don't want it to happen, but do you think that that's a possibility? Because she's known for murdering him. Oh, just because.
What circumstances?
Well,
for the money? Because she wants to.
No, I mean, it might even be accidentally. But I can just see, like, sort of Mick and Linda sort of getting back together again, and Janine being all furious about it, and her doing something insane to try and get her revenge, and Mick ending up dying or something in the process. It seems like a very Janine type scenario.
It feels like that'd be a very Pat Butcher type end for the character. Do you know what I mean? Like the actor kind of is leaving, but wants the option to come back. And the producers are like, nope, you're out, and you signed a deal with Sky. Yeah. We ate Sky.
So your character's going to the Sky. Enjoy that. So, I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't want it to happen. Don't get me wrong. I don't want Mick to die, because Mick is the sort of character that we need to kind of keep in the wings and kind of keep in the archives so that he can come back at some point. You know, when Danny Dyer realises that Sky is rubbish, you know, and wants to come back. Just, you know, other networking site people are available. Yeah. So I don't want Mick to die, but it just seems like getting in bed with Janine Butcher, whether you actually get in bed with her or not, is a dangerous route for any character to go down, especially when you're, you know, in a relationship with her. Janine has her history with men. You know, if Mick were to die under her hand, it would be number 4 in terms of men. So you're Barry. The guy, the Jewish guy,
Michael Moon.
Michael.
The Jewish
Michael
guy.
Moon. She tried to kill Ryan on numerous occasions. So it's not like
wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's not like it's beyond her remit, is it? So
I know, but it feels different with Janine and Mick. For me, when I see Janine with Mick, Janine's very different. There seems to be actual care toward him. So I feel like he has to do something very wrong for her to actually have killer intentions. But is she cheating?
It's pride with Janine though, as well, isn't it? Like Janine is somebody who, like, if you embarrass her like that, and she would see that as the ultimate humiliation to be cheated on. Like you saw how she was with Ryan when he cheated with Stacey. Yeah. She went outside, kicked a pram over because she thought it had the baby inside it. The woman's unstable when she gets in that mode. So I think anything's possible. Like I said, I don't want Mick to die, But
No.
I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility that if Janine's involved in his exit, that might be something. Because then what you've also got is technically Mick and Linda would be reconciled, which would give their relationship itself the happy ending that viewers would sort of be craving. And yet it keeps Linda around and Mick leaves.
But this is what I'm going to... If you get Mick and Linda back together, though, it means that... Oh, so I see what you're saying. So if Mick gets killed, then Linda can stay.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I still can't see... I can't see a future for Linda being there without
I think
Mick.
You're mad when you say things like that.
Really?
Linda,
I just can't.
I completely can't. She's got a whole family there. You can bring members of the Carter family back. Lee could return. There's so much.
Well, there's only Nancy there. It's only Nancy
there's only Nancy there in a minute. But like,
Zack.
I mean, you could bring people back. You could, Lee's around. They could.
Johnny.
Give us a new Johnny.
We don't need a new Johnny. We want the original Johnny. Not Johnny 2, though.
No, not Johnny 2. But Johnny 1's not coming back, is he? Come on, for goodness sake. He's in things like Silent Witness these days. He was good. But, he was in an episode of Silent Witness. And then he went on to play Leatherface in the Chainsaw Massacre film.
Oh, right. Well, there you go.
So that's more your sort of film than mine, isn't it? I don't go in for all that.
Not the remakes, though.
No,
I like the original. When they hooked up on the hook. All kind of stuff. It's all good fun.
You're an odd person, aren't you? You're very odd. There we go. Then. So, well, do let us know in the comment section below have you had any seedlings in your head as to how Mick might leave? Give us your theories in the comment section below, please, because we'd love to hear them.
Also, you can get in touch with us on Twitter or Instagram at Walford Weekly, or you can find our Facebook group. All you have to do is search Walford Weekly Podcast. But yeah, I'd be interested to know what people say, because we're getting close to it now. So how's Mick going to go? How is Nick going to go? Is he going to go out in a coffin or in a black cab? Let us know. Right, the next story we're going to talk about is Sam, who wants to buy the club, Ruby's Club, and change the name to Peggy's. Which I think is a horrible name.
Of course you do. Come
on, they've already named a child Peggy after Peggy. They don't name a club after Peggy. Yeah, they need a name after.
The thing is, though, I rather think that. But this is the thing. I don't think that Peggy would want herself named after that club whatsoever.
No, exactly. She wasn't any association.
Peggy wouldn't want a rival business named after her that would put the Nick in danger. She would hate that. But I think the only reason that Sam has even said that is because she needed to get inside Phil's head, and Phil's kind of simple like that, isn't he? And Phil was like, yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, keep the Mitchell name going. Yeah, spread the Mitchell name. Everything should be called Mitchell. Everything. All that should be Phil's. So his
eyes did light up when the name Peggy was dropped in front of him.
Exactly.
But his eyes also wandered in other directions as well, because it looks as though he's getting a bit of trouble in prison. He keeps saying it's a young man's getting prison, as if it's an occupation or something. And Cat spotted that he kept looking. Yeah, he's lost his touch. So do you think Phil's in a lot of trouble in prison as well? And that's another reason.
Is Phil being bullied?
I think he might be.
Bullied. Philip is being bullied by the big boys. Oh. You have to wonder what is going on. I wonder if this is going to be one of those very, very rare occasions where we actually see somebody that's involved in Phil's wheeling and dealings. Because quite often with Phil's sort of business things, they're there as a convenient thing that we never meet the people involved unless they're actually relevant to the plot. And it's just, Shirley will go off and deal with business in Spain. And we have no idea what the business is whatsoever. We're not told. Shops. We don't need to know that sort of thing. Little things like plot details. We don't need to know that.
Who needs plot?
So there might be something going on in prison that we are yet to learn, because Phil seems to be trying to, still keep some fingers in pies, so to speak, doesn't he, whilst he's in prison?
Yes.
So I wonder if, he's met some rivals, or Walford prisons are like, anything goes down in a Walford prison. If things go down in Walford Square when you haven't been arrested, imagine what they do in the prisons.
Wow, it's chaos in prison. So, it's like Prison Break Series 3. Do you think that Jonah has some kind of influence on what's going on in the prison, and that's why Phil wants to one up on Jonah as well?
Well, yes, it's very possible, because Jonah was trying to buy Ruby's, now Peggy's. And
not yet. Soon to be Peggy's.
Well, actually, I think that begs the question of Ruby. Do you think that sort of just cemented the fact that Ruby's not coming back now because her club is gone?
I think it is, and it's a real shame, because Ruby was such a good character, but they just slowly drained her of any kind of need to be on the show any further. By the point that when she did leave the show, you kind of understood that was her ending. They kind of left it open-ended when she left. But I think now enough time has passed for us to kind of think, well, we don't really need Ruby back, which I think is a great shame.
But she has got a Martin baby inside her.
She has got a Martin baby, possibly in prison. now with her, I guess.
Maybe that's the kid that's giving Phil problems. There's an evil little baby like Stewie Griffin just sat
with
there.
a rattle with spikes coming out of it, like
damn you, that woman! Yeah, exactly. So anything's possible. Yes. So I mean, yeah. So I suppose that seems to have parked Ruby for now, but you never know. Yeah. So Sam witnesses Jonah attempting to buy this club, and immediately tries to get one over on the situation. So presumably Jonah is trying to sort of set his turf in Albert Square at the moment, isn't he? So something's going on with Jonah. Jonah seems like the sort of person who would have connections in prison, because these sorts of people always do. So clearly, in my mind, Jonah's connections are giving Phil some issues whilst he's in prison.
I think that sounds fathomable.
Yes, so something's going on. So I'm intrigued to know that, because I quite like it when Phil is nervous, because we don't see Phil nervous that often. So it's nice to see Phil nervous. So what do you think? Any theories, or what do you think might be going on, and who are those two big boys that Phil doesn't seem to like?
I mean, I think you've summed it up with saying it's probably. I think it's probably linked with Jonah, and that's why he's kind of wanting to buy the club. And so I think, because there was a few times when Phil's little eyes lit up when Sam was talking to him about the club, and Kat was off at the coffee machine, kind of looking over, like going, "Oh, what do we?" C7, is that a hot chocolate? But
in prison, wow, you get it good here, don't you?
They are better than me. You don't get that in Kathy's. So the first one was that Jonah was buying it, and Phil was like, "Oh, tell me more." And then Sam was like, "Oh, but I want to call it Peggy's," and he was like, "Well, then get ahead and sell it."
Sorted. Yes, absolutely.
But then Sam messed up by missing her appointment, because she had all of her possessions thrown out onto the street. She really is. All her possessions thrown out in the street because her boyfriend in Spain had basically dumped her without her telling. I mean, was she that? Are you that surprised that she was dumped, considering that there wasn't even a hint that he existed until the moment that Spanish fan arrived and that, as you alluded to, that very personal picture of Sam that was painted. And Shrimpy loved that painting as well.
Shrimpy was delighted. Shrimpy was going through his wages, trying to see what he'd made from the day, to see whether he could afford to buy it. Shrimpy was a fan. It put Sam Mitchell up as the new sort of queen of self-portraits, isn't it? Because I always gave that title to Kiara. Do you remember her? I loved Kiara, the Irish woman who had a massive portrait of herself on the wall in her own house. Loved her. Absolutely loved her. Bring her back, I say. Especially if Ada Maguire's name has been floated around in storylines at the moment. That was a wasted opportunity, because she was camp as Christmas, and I absolutely loved her. So, I mean, why has Sam Mitchell, of all people, got this bloody naked portrait of herself? Where would you put that in a home? Where would you hang that? A picture of yourself naked? Like, I imagine, there's the internet for that sort of thing. I can imagine Sam Mitchell being on OnlyFans or something, but hanging a massive portrait of herself that's been painted. Do you reckon she has to pose for that?
Well, I guess, unless the artist did it from memory. Maybe her boyfriend was the artist, and he was the one who painted it of her.
Yeah, maybe. I don't mean Sam had to post that. Obviously, Sam had to post that, but do you reckon that Kim...
Oh, you mean the actress had to post that?
Yeah.
Kim Mick.
Came in on a Sunday.
Just on a day off, she thought, maybe it's a personal collection of her own. Maybe she owns it herself.
Maybe.
Do you
want to use this? Do you want to use this? Like June Brown used to do. She used to bring it into her own house. Yeah.
or if June Brown, God rest her soul, and she kind of still worked on the show, and she used to steal things from the show as well, didn't she? What she liked. She stole the Sam Mitchell painting to go with her. That'd be a strange occurrence, wouldn't it? Very strange indeed. But Sam's also been tasked to get money back off of Danise, because Danise has been told that she owes them the money back, because the part of the pact was that if she had money to invest back into the salon, that she had to stay stum about all Phil's going on and about Kim's, whose name eludes me now, and because I'm awful with names, but not Howie, her husband.
Who's Vincent?
Vincent, thank you. Vincent's death, but she didn't keep quiet because she because she felt like
physically can't.
Kim was begging her to try to tell the truth, wasn't she? So you can't kind of blame her for that.
No, you can't blame her for that, really.
Blood's thicker than water. And the Mitchell should understand that, but on this occasion, because the Mitchell wants to buy the club, he doesn't understand it, and so has given Sam the task. And she's kind of poking the bee's nest quite often, isn't she? She's kind of toying with him, like a cat with a toy. She's like a mouse. She's constantly kind of saying things. And unfortunately, Danise has kind of lost a lot of money this week, because Kim decided to advertise that she had over thousands and thousands of worth of equipment in the salon and then just left it unattended.
Yeah, and that robbery, I tell you what, they took everything, didn't they? They even took the good microphones out of the salon that week. The audio was bad in the scene, wasn't it? Thieves will take anything these days. Yes. So yeah, all that's going on. This story, this whole thing is mad because I love the fact that Sam at the end of the week, when Danise eventually turned around and went, "Do you know what? Get out of my house." You know, I would have said that a lot sooner, and Sam had the actual nerve to look surprised. Like, what do you mean get out of your house? I'm only asking for 50 grand. What's your problem, love? What's your problem?
Standard.
Honestly. So, yes, I struggle to think how Danise is going to get hold. Mind you, I don't struggle to think because it's a soap, and characters in EastEnders can always pull 50 grand out of nowhere if necessary. Because obviously the salon goes through peaks and troughs. We've discussed this before. They have some weeks where the salon is doing amazing, and there's no vacancies or no those customers go. No, I'm afraid we're fully booked for at least the next 6 months. You can't.
Yeah, but empty salon.
Empty. Yes, this is all just for display purposes only.
The people are invisible, or very, very small.
Yes, exactly. Borrower's haircuts. So God knows where Danise is going to pull 50 grand out her ass from. But I am struggling now because Raymond apparently is not on Phil's radar anymore again.
No,
because Phil spent. No, of course I'm not. Because Phil spent so long trying to get Raymond back, and now the situation has changed. Oh, screw what Danise, quite reasonably turn around to him. Well, what about Raymond? Without it, money, club, club. So there we are. That's them film. So I mean, I am intrigued actually. I may take the mick, but I am actually genuinely intrigued as to know what is going on with Phil in prison. Because, like I say, I like nervous Phil because nervous Phils are always quite interesting. Because if Phil's nervous, then that means something quite big might be occurring. I remain hopeful. So we'll see.
I think the thing is, when Phil's nervous in prison, he kind of gets even worse, kind of like pulling the gears outside of prison.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it?
And he's getting to the point where he's getting like, I'm not. No offense to fans of Phil on listening right now, but
yes.
Yes, but I'm not a huge cheerleader of Phil. I think he's expired. Yes. I feel like his time has come, and it's just like things like this. But that's why we have podcasts.
Differing opinions. Nice. Isn't
what a world we live in, eh? And we still talk to each other. We don't have to block each other. Just
no. Cancel. No.
I've not been cancelled yet. But I just feel like this is just standard Phil. Like you said, he doesn't care about Raymond. Of course he doesn't care about Raymond. All Phil cares about is Phil.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that side. However, I am quite intrigued by the idea that, if you're in prison, I would imagine in a place like prison, there is, no matter what atrocities you have been thrown in prison for, there is always someone that's going to be more dangerous than you. And when Phil is, in Albert Square, Phil is usually the one that's regarded as the most dangerous in Walford because Phil doesn't care if Phil wants something, then he will walk around with his drain pipe that he rips off a wall and yell and crash and bang into things and all that sort of thing. Phil doesn't care about any of that sort of thing. But when he's in prison, he has no access to drain pipes to rip off walls. He can't access his under the stairs baseball bat either. So he's not got access to that. So I'm quite intrigued by the notion that Phil is in a scenario and in a location where he is surrounded by people that are more dangerous than him. He can't do a lot when he's on his own. That's the thing about Phil these days, and I think he realises that. I would be quite interested in seeing a story where Phil realises and sort of questions his own mortality when it comes to that sort of thing, and sort of realises that he's not invincible anymore, and maybe prisoners put that in his head. I'd quite like that. Sounds a little bit too character based but we'll see. You never know.
I feel that's a lovely thought, and if they were to do that with Phil, I'd love that. But I don't think they will. But they might. And that's the thing. We live in hope. We do. We have our dreams. We're going to talk about a couple of very small stories now before we get to the big one. First of all, then Stuart. Stuart is still having issues with baby Roland. And Rainie's beginning to spot it now. And Stuart lied. Instead of saying that he's finding it very difficult to comfort Roland. And
not say it now, can you?
No, I can't.
It's physically impossible for you to say Roland. You can't say it anymore.
Roland? Have a biscuit, Roland!
If anyone has missed the episode where Alex explained why he does
someone asked last week.
Yeah, someone asked on the comment section and explained to anybody who might have missed the reference and thinks you're just mad.
Long story short, basically, there was a character on Grange Show in the 80s called Roland, and his best friend used to basically call her, they always say, "Hello, Roland!" you're at Roland. And so
It's the most obscure niche reference you could possibly imagine. And yet, this is the sort of stuff you drag out and apply it on a general conversation. It's amazing.
Yeah, Rainie and Stuart's child is now forever
Roland
and christened.
And now
Roland.
because he says it, every single time, I now say it because it's gone into my head. Like D.I. Gaffney. Both of us didn't have a clue what that character was called, but was actually called by the time he left. Didn't have a clue. Did not have a clue.
And yet Gaffney will forever be. He should come back as well, D.I.
He
Gaffney.
should. Yes, we'd love that. Yes, but as long as they change, he's married a woman called Gaffney who wants her name in the marriage.
Daphne Gaffney.
Daphne Gaffney.
Danger Pro
Gaffney.
No. But you said her name was Daphne. Gaffney.
Married a woman who's called Gaffney, but wants him to change his name too. So yeah, that's what I'd do. There you go.
I like Daphne.
Anyway, Daphne Gaffney, that works. Carry on.
So basically, what are your thoughts about Stuart lying to Rainie? So instead of admitting that he can't get close to the baby, he's basically said he's been getting the drugs off the internet, the painkillers, and he's been taking more than she's been given him. So he prefers that she thinks that he's a druggie than someone not a very good father.
Isn't that just the male thing? So, that's what they're working on again, isn't it? Like any man that has any issues on TV, it's always to do with masculinity. It always boils down to masculinity in the end, doesn't it? I mean, this is going well. I don't mind this story at all. I'm quite enjoying it. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those stories where, from the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a little frustrating in places because it's just going to be us waiting for the writers to decide which is now the right time for the story to move on. Because that's sort of what these stories end up doing sometimes, isn't it? But on the whole, I like it and I think it's interesting. Male postnatal depression, not something I know anything about, and frankly, something I'm very unlikely to ever really know anything about. But I am intrigued to know kind of where it's all going to go. I've said this before, but I hope this is going to be the time for the highway family. Sorry, I always do that. The highway family to really come together and actually become a full-on family. Including Callum, who I know is going to have other issues to deal with quite soon. Yes. I know that. Callum's going to be pulled from pillar to post over the next few months, isn't he? Bless him. But this is Vi's chance. This is Vi's moment.
I'm there for Vi to have a moment. I'm there for Vi to kind of
she will have hours.
Sway me over, persuade me to make me think that
Vi
has a place in that house.
Don't let me down here, babe. Gwen Taylor, you do your thing and show them what I've been saying all along. Come on, Gwen. Come on, Vi. Do your thing. So what's Rainie's next move from here then? Because she now is sort of under the impression that Stuart's been pulling off painkillers from the internet. Can you do that? Is that a thing?
Yeah, of course you can.
Can you?
Yeah, you can get anything you like on the internet.
I'll have a look on Amazon.
You can.
I'll have a look on Amazon when we're done. See what I can get hold of.
I don't think you'll be looking at Amazon, but yeah, you can. You can pretty much pull any kind of prescription medicine. It's quite a problem actually, because a lot of like dietary pills bought on the internet.
Well, Bernie and Tiffany.
Bernie should have.
Bernie should know all about this.
Well, she wasn't though, was it? She was getting it off. She was getting it through poor old dearie me. Tiffany, thank you. I'm very tired. I've had a very long week. I have had a long week. I have. I've been in the office on my own, so it's been a long week.
Responsibilities.
I know, and I can't deal with responsibilities. It's bad enough having a cat.
You've seen enough of him, right? Yeah. I like this. So yeah, Rainie's next move is now presumably going to be. Stuart's plan is for Rainie's next move to be right. Well, now you can't have the baby, so I'll look after her. Vi will look after her. Anybody that is within a 5-mile radius will be able to look after her because that's Rainie's way at the moment, except you. So. Which kind of gives Stuart a bit of breathing space, doesn't it, while he works out what exactly the hell is going on in his head. Because I do not believe for a single moment that Stuart's the sort of person that might sit there and consider, maybe I've got male postnatal depression. You won't understand that at all. He will just physically feel... Because Stuart beats to the sound of his own drum in a lot of ways, doesn't he? So he's the sort of person that would sort of just think, well, I'm panicking, I don't know what to do, and clearly I've got no attachment to this child, so this was all a terrible idea, so Rainie needs to dump me, and then everything will be fine. I assume is his plan.
I mean, this is it, because he wouldn't admit he had, even when he was told he had breast cancer, he wouldn't admit he had breast cancer. So I think even when he's told, it's funny, isn't it? They're kind of throwing all these kind of these illnesses or diseases which did not necessarily link to men for Stuart, whose masculinity is probably one of the most, of a square of very masculine men who all like, lads, men, beer, tankard, yeah, let's go, food and veg, all right. Stuart is kind of like,
all right.
That's my Martin impression.
Fruit, veg, potatoes, melons, dragon fruit.
Having 5 a day. Give them here. Juggle them. Here you go. Catch them in your bag.
Any old graves. Any old graves. Any old graves.
Comes out with like buttoned hat. But yes, so I feel bad for Stuart. Bless him. His masculinity is yet again in question,
Challenged.
and I think this is
Yes.
it's going to be a bit scary for him once again. Another small story also this week is that Stacey visited Jean.
I loved this.
I did too, actually, and I loved the
yeah.
fact that Jean was pleading with Stacey to let her go home, and Stacey had to kind of fight it and say no.
Yeah, but Jean knows. Well, Stacey knows that, you know, she will have probably said exactly the same things to because Stacey's been in this situation. So I love that whole sort of thing. And both of them know that the other one has been in that situation. And both of them know that there was resentment there when it had to happen to them. But both of them knew that they had to be there for their own good. So Jean is going to be somewhere in Jean's mind will be the fact that I had to put Stacey in this situation. And I know it was for her own good. So I can't really argue that much against it. I love the fact that like Jean's basically implying that Stacey's put her in Shady Pines. You know, like say, I was 6 hours I had to wait for a clean cut. They make us wear the dirty ones as shoes. And she's got some rivalry going on with the woman in the next room.
She hasn't made friends, has she? Not made any friends in that place.
Yeah, that's a spin-off. There you go. The Adventures of Walford General Psychiatric Ward. Love that.
At the moment, we're doing more stories off the square than on the square. So we've got one in prison, we've got one off the... Are you suggesting that they're
inventing a Marvel-type universe for EastEnders?
We are.
Just leave it to us. We've got everything we can throw at you. Everything.
Every idea under the hat.
Okay.
I did feel sorry for Jean, but it did feel like she, as you say, she was manipulating Stacey quite heavily. And Stacey, but I don't think Stacey saw through it. I think Stacey believed what Jean was being honest. But I think from viewers, we knew that Jean was kind of, because as soon as Stacey kind of said no, Jean went back to being that kind of very cold and kind of like,
just walked away.
Why have you visited me? They stole my slippers. You don't do anything about it. Why would you? And so again, you're right. I'm so glad there's aftermath. Like, you know, if we look back at Isaac, where there was nothing, you know, he just exactly.
I know.
He got mentioned this week. He got mentioned. He got dropped in.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, really? Is this coming?
Just like the character himself dropped. There you go. Bless him. Poor Isaac. Yes. So I like. So yeah, this is all still ticking along lovely. It's doing what we sort of expected and what feels, you know, fairly right, because it has been quite a heavy storyline, like heavily featured for the past few months. So it feels right that the story is sort of taking a backseat and will occasionally just kind of almost pop in on Jean and see how she's getting on. Yeah. I don't know how long she's going to have to be in that psych ward for. Normally, these sorts of stories tend to be like around a couple of weeks or so, or a few weeks or so. So maybe about a month, and then she might come out, and then we'll sort of see the next stage of it and see how Jean and Stacey's relationship is after that. Because I do believe there's going to be work to have to be done with Jean and Stacey's relationship, because a lot of mud has been slung, a lot of hurtful words have been said from Jean's perspective, and from Jean's side especially. So, yes, I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. But Gillian Wright, who, by the way, is up for a British Soap Award nomination for Best Actress. So, EastEnders fans, get on that website and give out Gillian the award she would get her, the award that she deserves. Go on, get her.
She really does. She really does.
She was amazing.
Gillian Wright, and she has been amazing. Her. But then she's never not amazing. Whenever they give Gillian Wright, she always plays it every time 100% perfectly. So,
love you, Gillian.
Get out there and start voting for Gillian.
Vote for Gillian. Yeah.
So we're coming to the big one now, and we're not talking about Ben.
Christ.
I know. It's time to talk about. I mean,
but it is Ben.
Maybe it is Ben. We are talking about the Ben story. We're talking about the Callum and the going ons with Lewis and
Peter.
It's our second Family Guy reference this week.
There you go.
And Jay and Kathy. I mean, I don't really want to kind of talk about the story, because I think we're just going to talk about it, how we're going to say our feelings about it, because we're on the road. We're starting with the story that got leaked a couple of weeks ago.
We're on Rape Road now, aren't we?
We are.
Right. So let me say what I want to say straight off the bat is I am reminded the way that we're both feeling about this story. I'm sort of reminded of Grey era, and my thought process is, remember how much us moaning for months and months did. To how the direction the storyline went. Didn't go anywhere, did it? So we both know we're unhappy about it. We both know we didn't want Lewis to be a rapist. However, this is the path we're now on. So let's just
Sounds like you're calming me into comfort here.
Well, I am. All I'm saying is there's no point in us moaning every single week about the fact that we don't like the way it's gone. All right? Because both of us are unhappy about it. And yes, both of us are really, really annoyed about the fact that gay representation isn't exactly great in the show at the moment, because the first happily gay person that comes along, in years, turns out to be a bloody rapist.
But not just that,
that's the frustrating thing.
But he says, so not just the ultimate goal is that there's a rape story coming. And also, Can I just say that, and this is a spoiler, so fast forward 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this, but I called it as well when I said on Twitter that I bet you £1 million that it ends up happening in the club, the Albert upstairs, exactly where Kathy had been raped.
Did you not know that was what was going to happen when you said that tweet?
No, I didn't. Not a clue.
I thought that was actually
because I know. No, I had no idea.
Wow.
I had no idea, and I tweeted it thinking, "I bet you that's what's going to happen," and it's exactly what's going to happen. It's so predictable and cliched. So that's another reason why I'm very upset about it now.
I know,
but I just hate the fact that they've introduced this character, Lewis, and he's such a happy, confident gay man. I'm just repeating. I know I'm a broken record.
Although,
and in a matter of a couple of weeks.
Since he's been announced as his rapist, he's not anymore, is he? Have you noticed? Ever since they announced the storyline, he's now wearing leather.
He's become really dark all of a sudden.
Instantly creepy. Like, he was such a happy kind of chappy before, and now the second they announced the storyline, it's like he went to wardrobe. It's like, right, now I'm in rape mode, and he turned on, puts on this really tacky leather jacket, and has got his hair all greased down and just looks dark. And it's kind of instantly sort of I guess we don't trust you now then. It's such a shame.
The fact that he's when he first met Ben, he was almost just a friendly comfort to Ben. He kind of talked to him. But now he actively wanted to have an affair with Ben. He went out of his way this week to do it.
Yeah, but that I don't have an issue with. If imagine this week without the fact that we knew where it was going to go.
Yeah,
because this actually is what I if you remember when we first started talking about Lewis and in those happy days when we were excited about Lewis, in lighter times when we didn't know what was coming, we were excited, and I was kind of like, oh my god, he's going to be a gay Irish Janine. I'm so excited! Look at where it's going. He's going to actively try and break up Ballum. I love it, because I was actually really excited by the idea that, because for me, Callum. And I'm so I can see the pitchforks on the horizon. And I apologise for this. For me, Callum in recent months has become quite a 2D character in a lot of ways. It had nothing to do with Tony Clay's performance whatsoever.
No.
And let me point out as well, nothing that we are moaning or saying about is reflective on the actors involved whatsoever, because all three of them I know will not. All three of them I know will knock this out of the park. In fairness, won't they? All three of them will. That's never up for debate. But for me, Callum had sort of gone a little bit in recent. So I was quite excited about the notion that he had a rival, and that would put a bit of fire underneath Callum and give him a love rival for Ben. But it's not going to do that.
Has it? Because he was stood at the door when he saw. Yeah, but when he saw Ben and Lewis kissing, he just stood there doing his normal kind of puppy dog. And so I think that Callum. Sorry, I just want to say I think that Callum perhaps is being two-dimensional, and I completely see where you're coming from with that, and I think it's because they're just putting so much onto Ben that it's almost like Callum's now watered down as this kind of lapdog type partner to Ben that he cannot be anything other than two-dimensional.
I've sort of realised that this is in some ways this is sort of quite historical in terms of just Mitchell partners. You could almost put sort of Callum in the realms of Lisa and Tiffany, people that are treated like dirt. To be, it's. I think that thing that was it Sharon who said it about being, Mitchell love was quite prophetic, really.
Nothing
wasn't it?
Quite like it.
Nothing quite like it, and there really isn't anything like Mitchell love, is there? Because when you're in bed with a Mitchell boy, your life is going to be hell. It transpires, and Callum is no exception to that. The sexuality thing, that's irrelevant. If you're getting with a Mitchell boy, good luck to you. And we'll talk about that kiss briefly, because. But let's say right off the bat, Ben leaned in for that. Ben was
just as guilty as Lewis. It's not absolutely.
We've seen failed kisses over the time. We've seen somebody take a sort of view of, okay, this is when I kiss you, and then the other person's like, what the hell do you think you're doing? Ben leaned in and then decided to go, Lewis. I may occasionally go out and beat people up because I perceive them as bigots. I may occasionally beat them to a pulp. I may partake in the odd bit of human trafficking. I may hang a person from a bridge and threaten to kill their children in front of them. I may hire a hit person to kill members of my family, but cheat on Callum, what do you think I am?
I would never go past that standard. That's a new low for me.
Honestly, what do you think I am? Cheat on Callum and annoy the Ballum fans? I think not.
I mean, Lewis, I don't think we can blame Lewis, though. I completely agree with you. I think Ben was just as much to blame for that.
No.
Well, no, not yet, not at this point. But I think that it kind of led up to this point, because like Ben was kind of talking to Lewis the whole time and kind of almost in his own mind making an excuse for himself for why it was okay to flirt with Lewis.
Well,
like,
this is the thing.
At one point he says something really insulting, which was like, Callum can't feel the same way as him because Callum didn't grow up being out and gay.
It's basically like going out with a straight bloke.
Yeah,
Callum hangs around for all this, doesn't he?
Yeah, but Callum's it's a Callum. Sorry, Callum.
It's all right. No, this is what we get.
Callum, just because Callum wasn't out doesn't mean he wasn't full of acts when he was younger. And I just think that's such an awful thing to kind of portray, that someone would think that way. Because as a young gay person watching EastEnders, seeing that line, witnessing that being portrayed in front of them, they might think to themselves, "Oh well, not even the gay community want me out. Not even the gay community want me to come out." It was such a horrible line.
This is the thing about Ben, though, isn't it? This is the thing about Ben Mitchell as a character, and why this storyline is going to be tricky, I think, if you are not, sort of, no offence, but if you're sort of not blinded by the marvel and the amazingness that is Ballum, okay? The problem is, Ben, at his worst, Ben is a very difficult character to sympathise with sometimes. If you think about the history... And then what tends to happen is that it will make Ben a horrible person for a bit and make Ben do something really bad and unforgivable. And then what they will do is have Ben go through something utterly traumatic so that we are sympathetic towards him again. And there is only so many times you can do that before we're sort of like, oh, enough. Like, kind of like, we get it. We get it. You can think of no other character on EastEnders who falls into complex than Ben Mitchell, all right? Ben Mitchell is a very complex character, okay? And there are more layers to him than 17 onions, all right? We get what you're trying to say to us, all right? But, like, Christ alive, this is going to be tricky. This really is. And I don't understand how this homophobia vigilante thing gels with what is to come. I don't get that. I don't understand how the two sort of coincide together.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that from Ben's perspective, if he's been attacked by, but again, this doesn't make it a right thing to show. If he's being attacked by a gay man as well as a straight guy, does that make him even more kind of like confused? And so then we're in even more of a perplexing scenario where we're going to have to think to Ben, well, in Ben's mind, he can't trust gay people, he can't trust straight people.
That's what I mean. It's like, what is that your answer? Is that the answer to this story? Is that the answer to this character's journey on this story? So you've got a character who is going through terrible internalized homophobia, and yet he's not going through internalized homophobia because he's almost doing his own version of sanctimonious with it all, isn't he? Where he's basically saying to anyone that will listen, you don't know what it's like to be gay, including you, Callum. You don't know what it's like to be gay either. I know we stick together, but
no
you don't understand.
What it's like to be gay.
No, none of you understand.
No one understands me. And he sounds like a petulant teenager, doesn't he? He's like, no one understands me.
And yet he's going out and attacking people, including Pizza. Which, can we talk about that for I swore then. Can we talk about that for a second?
yeah, go ahead. I mean, to be fair, when I saw...
Oh, the way he fell to the ground. I didn't even realise it was him until the credits rolled and he was second in line.
No, insane.
And then I had to rewind and it was Peter. I'd have preferred it if Callum or something like that. That would have been fun, wouldn't it? That would have been interesting. But then Peter was fine the next day. Peter was just walking around moaning.
Was he, though?
It wasn't... I mean,
it reminded me when he tripped over the bin bag. Remember when he tripped over the bin bag?
Oh,
give me the pain.
I'm dying.
So he was feeling sorry for himself, and he was milking it in front of Kathy.
Oh,
Kathy was there, kind of like going, "Oh, my poor grandson." Oh.
I mean, Player of the Week was Jay this week, who sort of basically this. I mean, this is the thing that I've been missing with Jay and Ben so much, is the relationship between Jay and Ben, and how Jay is sometimes the only person on earth who can actually try and go to Ben and talk sense to him and be like try and shake some sense into him. And actually, in all fairness to him, went to Kathy and said, "This is what's been happening." Unfortunately, Callum was there too, which
I was so
I
pleased
think
he did that.
I loved that Jay did that. I thought
Yeah.
Jay was brilliant this week. I fully expected Kathy to slap him. Was kind of disappointed that she didn't, because it seems like the sort of thing that you should have slapped Ben for. But the other side of this, of course, is now Callum knows about it. This is going to be another time for Callum to be a rubbish police officer, isn't it? Because Callum's now going to keep this a secret. This is we can't forget, and I hope they don't forget, that since Ben has been doing this serial attacking around Walford, which there's clearly only one attacker because they're all connected. There is now, Callum now knows who did it. And there's apparently a whole police investigation going on with this. Is that just going to be kind of faded away? Like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that, please. That's do you know what I mean? Like, is that not going to be a thing anyone now Callum knows? Or is Callum going to have to arrest him? Which is technically what I've always wanted since Callum became a police officer. I wanted that moment when Callum... Have I not? I've said that for months, haven't I? That all I wanted if I ever got anything out of Callum being a police officer is for the moment that Callum has to arrest Ben. I'd have loved that. So is that coming? I'd like that before it all goes to craziness in the coming weeks.
I mean, we know that Walford police are blooming awful anyway,
Rubbish.
And Callum is pretty much on the spectrum of Walford police of being quite good to being very, very, very bad. Callum's probably around about there.
Quite good. That's quite good. That's complimentary for you.
So he's kind of down on the spectrum. So I don't think there's any fear of him kind of revealing it. I think Jack is going to ultimately find out. He'll probably find out through Callum. Callum will be like, I can't do that to my husband. And Jack will be like, right, you don't have to, I'll do it. And then, he will. He will, because he's so soppy for Ben. I mean, it's his first love. You can kind of understand. He's a baby
This is the thing. This is the thing with Callum, all right? And why I think I'd love Callum to just grow. The thing is, none of this argument that we're having about Callum and Ben, again, gels with what we know is to come. It's a completely separate conversation, isn't it?
Mm.
But the whole thing about Callum, I would love him to grow some balls and actually say to Ben, do you know what? Like, you are not treating me well. Like, the anniversary they had this week, all right? Callum went to a restaurant and, said to Ben, this is where time, place, and occasion. This is what, because I think he even had to tell Ben, it's our anniversary, by the way, in case you were wondering, in case you weren't aware. And then kind of told Ben to come to this restaurant. Ben didn't show up, obviously, because he was out getting drunk. And then the next episode,
on a Ben Mitchell.
On a Ben Mitchell. There needs to be a recipe book for all of Walford's drinks, I tell you.
We've discussed this before.
Yeah. Sideline. So the next episode, Callum is saying to him, well, didn't show up. Well, didn't even seem surprised. It was like he was expecting Ben not to show up. Yeah. That's where they're at right now, okay?
That's
where they seem to have been for so long. And it's kind of like... Oh, yeah, go on.
And if we didn't know where this story is going to head, I would now just be sitting here complaining, saying, "Oh, we're back on the Ballum merry-go-round again."
So
here we go. Get on board.
Ballum, really,
strap on, because we're going to have another Ballum merry-go-round. They're going to fall out.
Strap in, not strap on, Alex.
Yes, sorry. I have a thing about strap-ons, don't I?
Do you?
That's a worrying moment. I seem to say it a lot on the show.
How long have you had these feelings for?
Anyway, since I saw that, I tell you how long. It's ever since I saw that picture of Callum on the wall. They got vandalised.
They got vandalised by what I can only assume was a Jolly Green Giant. It was halfway up a skyscraper, and somehow somebody managed to go up there and throw a target on his face. And this is the other thing as well. All right, this is the other thing with this whole homophobia thing that's going on at the moment. Like, because Ben is kind of it's like Ben is being justified for his actions, like wherever he looks, isn't it? Because they will just be walking down the street and someone will just throw homophobic abuse at him, or he'll see something going on that he doesn't like. It's like they're trying to perceive if the places where it's the worst to be gay in the entire world. It's like they've got Nigeria, Russia, Walford. What? It's madness. I can't cope. So
why is there so much hate for gay people?
So much hatred. I mean, we know that there is some scum that lives in Walford.
Of course.
We know. I mean, let's be fair. There's an extremist right-wing group floating around Walford, so we know that exists.
We mustn't forget them.
It's like the random kids that walk through the street and just like, "Hey, gays are bad, yeah," and then just stroll off. They had nothing to do with that. They're just dregs of society that Ben Mitchell keeps coming into contact with, and who gradually becomes Ben's next victim when he decides to go and beat somebody up.
But funnily enough, you saying about the right-wing group, something that came to mind to me a couple of days ago was the fact that obviously ultimately, I think at the end of the story, we have to see it from Ben's point of view and forgive him for it, even though you listed all those things he's done. And it's funny because at the moment, because of the show, they seem to want us to be forgiving of people who have done some really horrible things, like Aaron as well. He wanted to bomb a club, a mosque.
Although the difference is Aaron didn't. I wouldn't put it past Ben.
That's true. That's true.
Ben would have pressed that button because Ben knows what he wants.
Yeah, he would have. He would have collected all the homophobic people in Walford, got them all in the community centre, and then been like almost like a cartoon, kind of put down the wire, a TNT block, and go boom, and then that would have been Ben.
Yeah, and then he'd have been in a car crash, so we had to.
And then we'd be like, oh well, what he did was justified. Then killing all those 30 people. He almost died himself, in a car crash. And while he was having the car crash, he was having a fit because he ate some cream and he's allergic to milk.
It sort of boils down to the big question, the big kind of question overarching all of this is how do you solve a problem like Ben Mitchell? And the thing is, if you need to look at Ben's history, like look at the boy's childhood for Christ's sake. I mean, no child is going to come out well from that.
From the Mitchells, absolutely not.
For Phil as a father, and everything that Phil and Ben have had to go through over the years. Ever since Ben was a child and able to have lines, that kid has experienced trauma. But
then when we know Callum's past as well, don't we?
Well, yeah,
Callum's not turned out bad.
He had Stuart.
His dad was homophobic and beat Stuart because Stuart got in the way. His mum left him. She was an alcoholic. So he still had a great. And then Vi kind of rejected them. Didn't want anything to do with their family.
You believe that?
I'm sorry, but Vi was not any better. Was not any better.
She's changed.
All she cares about is the bingo jackpot over her own child, her grandchild.
Fair. So there we are. So this is the thing, and I don't think and we need to be careful, and we need to be sort of accepting that this is an important story that they're about to begin telling. There are a lot of aspects of it that we don't like because of the logistics of it. The story itself is not something we have an issue with. We should make that very kind of abundantly clear. It's what you even have an issue with? Do you? Why?
Because I say the representation.
Yeah, but no, that's what I mean. The story itself of male rape, the sort of that subject itself, the logistics of it is the things that we have an issue with.
Do you think we'd have as much of an issue about this story, for argument's sake, if they used the same story, but they had not planted it on Ballum, as in a gay couple? If they had done it, that's what I'm wondering. So if it hadn't been a gay couple, and the way it's just kind of being written as obviously a gay person getting raped, do you think if it had been a straight person being raped? Because this is another thing again. Because this is it's almost from what I'm led to believe, and again. I'm sorry, this might be a bit of a spoiler. I apologise. From what I'm led to believe is that this is actually about consent. Where actually the story's not so much. It's that yes. From what from the information I've got, I believe it's more about the consent. That Ben says no, but then does that soften it a little bit? Then does that kind of make it a little bit easy?
Because the whole thing about if it goes more in the, because I'm going basing this on the David Platt storyline in Corrie, which was a very cut and dry. David got drugged, got taken to the flat, and was raped. Date rape. That was, no consent, no questioning. That was what happened, and this is now how we're going to deal with this character dealing with what has happened to him. Okay, cut and dry. Can't argue with that. That's the story. The whole thing with the Ruby storyline was a very different thing, and sort of talking about consent and sort of talking about the who was right in the situation. I think as viewers, it took us a little while to sort of work out exactly what was going on and whose side we should be on. Because I remember Ruby was quite flighty, shall we say, in her early times, wasn't she?
Well, and there was also that really hilarious, which wasn't funny, but funny scene when she did she drug the guy and then she started undoing his trousers with scissors. And she's like, I'm going to cut his penis off. And Martin stopped her. I mean, that he got.
What do they smoke in the EastEnders writers? Do you reckon?
I don't know.
Do you reckon they get their drugs from online as well?
Maybe.
Honestly,
that's how they know to refer.
So Yes. All right. So if you managed to make your way through this entire conversation, you'll be fully aware of our views on the matter. Please let us know in the comment section below. This is what I want to avoid going forward, because it was heavy, the grey stuff. All right, it got heavy where we were both moaning about it every single week. All right, we are aware of the logistics, and we are aware it's not what we're happy about. Okay. Yes, I do think that if there is another way of telling the story in terms of consent, then that might be easier. If Lewis starts putting hypnol in Ben's drinks, then that's going to be pretty cut and dry.
Cut and dry, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Personally, I think I would prefer it if there was a bit more of a consent thing towards it, because at least that then sort of adds an extra interesting layer to it, rather than it just being
I agree,
a traumatic event to throw on Ben again. I don't know.
Yeah, because it stops being quite as dark as it could be. But this is only quite, because also it kind of solidified my theory of that, because the way that Ben then, I know he joked and said like Ben had kissed him, and then Ben was like, well, actually, no, I better not.
Yeah.
So, but Ben did then say no to Lewis. So now is this kind of the signal for us to think that when it comes to that, Lewis will be like, oh, actually, no, I do want this. You kissed me. You've led me along. So and so Ben would say, because obviously if you're in a very precious situation like that, it's tricky to kind of.
This is the thing. That kiss, I think, might be quite kind of instrumental in the way that the storyline's going to go, isn't it? Because if that had been a moment of Lewis leans in, kisses Ben sort of slaps him with a glove and walks out, and goes back to Callum, and Lewis sort of glares after him angrily, and evil rapist Lewis begins. I will have him whether he likes it or not. But what you've got here is actually the fact that Ben definitely responded to that kiss. There's no question about it. He closed his eyes, he leaned in, and he kissed Lewis. He definitely kissed Lewis, and Callum will be completely right in whatever pottery he decides to throw at Ben in the next episode, all right? Because he witnessed what he thinks he witnessed. So that's going to be interesting moving forward. I think that kiss might be quite instrumental in terms of how Lewis perceives his relationship with Ben moving forward.
Yes. So, as you say, if people have anything to say, then comment below if you're watching this on YouTube.
Yes,
we'd be fascinated to know your comments, and also get in touch with us on Twitter and Instagram and our Facebook group. All the details will be at the end of the show, and we've got a little bit of time left, so we're going to do a little tiny little news story. Oh, in 3 seconds. We're going to do a tiny little news story on I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So on Instagram this week, Charlie Wernham, who plays Aaron on EastEnders, had announced that he is filming, or has filmed, a new series of Bad Education. It was a comedy series in the UK with Jack Whitehall. They've done a one-off special where Jack Whitehall returns, and then they've done a full series where he and another past cast member, Leighton Williams, return as teachers. So they've basically done a kind of like a next generation for the series. I actually quite liked Bad Education. I don't like Jack Whitehall very much, but I did like the series. No, I don't, but I did like it. A lot of people say I look like him. So maybe there's an irony there. But yes,
I like him a big inside for the similar reasons. I get told I look like him all the time.
I'm sorry, but so how do you? So he's obviously been off filming that. That's why he's not been on EastEnders. I take it that they're kind of going to show the series very soon. How do you feel about that news? Because it could mean that Aaron might not be a full-time character anymore.
Well, I don't know. But then you sort of think about how much can you get out of a character who is a right-wing extremist? Like, is that a character that has longevity about him? I don't know. Well, actually, a character going away and filming a sitcom and then coming back isn't unheard of, because if you remember, in the early 90s, Wendy Richard used to go away and film Grace in Favour, which was the spin-off of What You're Being Served.
You said I come out with odd references. That's a huge odd reference.
Well, it's just something and yes, I knew you knew what I was talking about.
I did.
Yeah. So it's not unheard of, and to be fair, it's a BBC production, so it's not like it's probably quite easy for them to sort of work out the logistics of it. So this is the thing: if Aaron was like a character that we could see staying around for years, then this might be a kind of different conversation. But I don't know where they're going with Aaron. I don't know what the plan is with Aaron. Are they going to try and reform him? Are they going to try and make him a better person so that he can stick around? I wouldn't mind it, because the character of Aaron really interests me. I find him an interesting character to watch. And both of us said that because we both love the Monroes. But I'm sort of intrigued as to how this is all going to play out. But I do like Bad Education, so either way, I'm happy.
That's true. It's nice to see Charlie Wernham doing
actor.
productions. He's a great actor. I just
actor.
was a bit worried when I read that news because I thought that, like, you know, if a second series came around, I don't know how tricky it is to film comedies. I think they film quicker, don't they, than dramas? Like when you're filming a drama, I mean, like a serial drama, not like a soap. They tend to take 6 to 9 months, I believe. While a comedy, I think you can knock. I don't know, but I think you can knock comedies out in about 2-3 months. I believe. I could be wrong. Let me know. Get in contact with me.
Jack Whitehall, let him know. Let him touch us.
Please do. Come on, twin brother.
Secrets.
I do appreciate that. But yeah, I was a bit worried when I read it because I do like the Monroes. And I know a lot of people, again, I mentioned it when we were talking about the Ben chat, you know, how can you really redeem a right-wing supremacist? But I wouldn't mind them trying to find a way. They did it with Stuart. They're doing it with Ben.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, let's find us a way.
Apparently, we're a forgiving lot of our EastEnders viewers. We'll forgive anything.
We really will.
We really will. There we are then. So, a heavy discussion at the end there, and please do let us know your thoughts. We are quite happy to be told we're wrong, as we are quite often. So if you wish to tell us that we're wrong, or you wish to involve yourself in any of the discussions, then you can do the following. Contact us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com, or the other guy, Jack Whitehall at walfordweekly@gmail.com. There we are.
Won't get much reply from that, but yes,
won't.
please do.
Like they ever did anyway.
No,
so
that's true. I am awful on my email. You know, I was having a good lucky streak. I was having a lucky streak. I was doing every week.
He's got a whole office now that he can go to and answer all his emails. He won't bother.
I could go to numerous computers and load up a different email on each one, and I still don't bother.
But he's now got to the stage where he's reading his emails and he's printing them off, like in the old days. Like he's pulled a fax. We've had a fax from from Cheryl in Bolton.
We should get a fax number. That'd be
still
cool.
a thing. Can you still
they
get
are in
fax
Japan.
machines?
They are a big thing in Japan still.
Well, move to Japan and start doing one week from there then.
I'll do that. We have a listener in Japan. Hello, listener in Japan, by the way.
Konnichiwa.
Very good.
That thing. There you go. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and watching on our new software. Hopefully this is all going to go fine and tickety-boo from here on in. You might not have noticed a thing. Alex gets excited about this sort of thing, though, so you kind of pander to him. It's the best thing for it. So, we'll be back same time next week. We love you, listeners and viewers. Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
See you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.